All right. Thank you for joining everyone. Hey, hi, hello. My name is Niger Alim Jules, and I'm the Deputy Director for the U.S. Agency for International Development, Donald M. Payne International Development Fellowship Program. Um, uh, Such an honor to be presenting and speaking about the program today. So with that, let's go ahead and hop into it. I ask that you please save your questions for the end of the presentation. It is a bit lengthy, because I will be covering some best practices as you work through the application itself, for those of you who might have started your application in our systems already. With that, we'll go ahead and begin. So a little history about the Donald M. Payne Fellowship Program. USAID created the Payne International Development Fellowship Program in 2012 in honor of the late Representative Donald M. Payne Sr., who was 10th District from Newark, New Jersey. Representative Payne was the first Black American elected to the U.S. Congress from New Jersey, and he was elected in November 1988 and served until his death in 2012. He was a senior member on the House Committee on Foreign Affairs and a ranking member of the Subcommittee on Africa, Global Health, and Human Rights, and a member of the Subcommittee on the Western Hemisphere. So our namesake is after this phenomenal individual, Congressman Donald Payne Sr. The first cohort of Payne Fellows was selected in 2013. There were 3 fellows the first year, but we have expanded our fellow up to 30 fellows per year, with the 100% increase we received from USAID for the 2023 cohort and moving forward. So we're very excited about that. So what exactly is the Payne Fellowship Program? Well, the Graduate Fellowship Program is a fellowship that is administered by Howard University under a cooperative agreement with the U.S. Agency for International Development, with the purpose to recruit and select bright minds for career in USAID's foreign service, becoming development foreign service officers. Within USAID's Foreign Service, the Foreign Service officers apply their technical knowledge, their program design, management, and evaluation expertise to promote and to promote and demonstrate democratic values abroad and advance a free, peaceful, and prosperous world. The Foreign Service officers within USAID work on some of the most pressing issues, including environmental issues, everything from water to environmental degradation, agriculture, finance and accounting, health crisis, education and health, peace and security, and as well as humanitarian emergencies. So many of the Payne Fellows, all of our Payne Fellows, what's great about the Payne Fellowship program is if you get the fellowship, you get the job at the end. So really big ploy there. And with that, many of our Payne Fellows enter into USAID's Foreign Service through one of these backstops, which are essentially USAID's career tracks for their foreign service. So there's a need for everything from program officers, executive officers, financial officers, ag, econ. If you have a general development interest, an interest in public health, humanitarian assistance, crisis stabilizations, the list goes on, as you can tell here. So, but what's important to note is that USAID, again, that focus is on development, right? So you should have an interest in development or working towards one of these development career tracks here. Now, the Payne Fellowship, of course, one of the, I'm sure many of you have seen our promotional materials floating around. What's great about our fellowship is that it is a graduate fellowship, which comes with substantial support, up to $104,000 over 2 years, and that works out to be $24,000, up to $24,000 for tuition and mandatory fee support, $18,000 personal living stipend, which is issued directly to the fellow. And then we provide each academic year, that is, as well, for the 18,000, and then 2 stipends for summer internships. So our fellows do 2 internships, one congressional internship the year prior to starting graduate school, and the other an overseas internship at USAID mission abroad in between their first and second year of graduate school. In both of those cases, we provide round-trip transportation to the internship location. So again, for the domestic internship, that's the congressional, that'd be DC, and housing support as well. So we will house you. And then same thing for the overseas internship. We'll work with you to get your visas and your inoculations, round trip transportation to and from your mission. And then the mission will accommodate you all there in regards to your lodging. So now you've heard about the money, you heard a little bit about the how we were founded and the fact that we are administered by Howard University. So how do you essentially apply? What do you need to know in order to apply? Well, first things first, you must make sure that you meet the eligibility requirements, and I will be echoing this a lot throughout the presentation. Biggest piece is U.S. citizenship. All applicants must have U.S. citizenship by the application deadline, which for the 2024 cycle is October 26th by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, okay? Again, I'll say that again, that's 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All applicants should also have a 3.2 cumulative GPA, and this is on a 4.0 scale. We do require that applicants submit all of your transcripts. So you should be providing all of your, at the application stage, you can submit your unofficial transcripts. So that's fine. So screenshots from your student portals, any unofficial transcripts that you may have had. And by unofficial, that includes any official transcripts that you've received, that you've opened officially, be them official electronic transcripts that you've already opened on your side. They are termed unofficial once they come to us because we have not opened them, but we will accept them at the application stage. If you are called up as a finalist, if you're selected as a finalist, prior to the scheduling of your final round, prior to your final round interview, we will ask that you please send in your official transcripts there. So we already have those pieces in place. Another important factor is that you must be planning to enroll in a 2-year graduate school program in the fall, following the year that you apply. So if you're applying now in 2023 for the 2024 cycle, you must be looking to begin graduate program in fall 2024, not fall 2025. So be sure that that is your intentions to, again, begin graduate school in fall 2024 if you're looking at this application cycle, which again, we are open until October 26, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do require 2 letters of recommendation, one letter from a current or former professor or faculty member, and another from a community leader. For those of you who may be removed from academia, graduate, alumni, several years out, perhaps, we can take the letters of recommendation from an individual, most likely your manager, supervisor, your director, et cetera. But this individual should be able to speak to your interests in development, as well as your preparedness for graduate school. So that's one thing to note there. Again, official transcripts, I'll just say all transcripts from all colleges and universities attended. Reason why we ask for this is just in case the GPA is below at the home institution, meaning the institution where you're receiving your bachelor's degree or have received your bachelor's degree is under that 3.2 GPA. We'll have all of your transcripts from all the institutions that you might have attended if it was more than one school. So our staff can do that cumulative average across the pieces there. And that is for transcripts for institutions where you've obtained 6 or more credit hours at. Please provide them to us. We do require in the application a personal statement in 600 words or less, detailing the reasons for applying, your interest in foreign affairs, and a commitment to pursue a career in the USAID's Foreign Service. So why USAID? Why do you want to be a Development Foreign Service Officer? Think about those things, the intention behind that. We also require a statement in 400 words or less of the applicant that indicates their need for financial assistance to continue graduate studies, including an explanation of a financial assistance received during your undergraduate studies, an overall education-related debt, if there isn't, and the abilities or your ability or your plans to pay for graduate school independently. How I typically tell applicants as you're working through the financial section, and what's important to note, for our financial section, you are required to complete and provide the FAFSA. We are currently accepting the 2022-2023, so that's from this past academic, yes, fall 2022, yes, the past academic year. So if you have that, you can go ahead and upload that, because we will need that that piece there with the numbers ported over. If you have not, again, if you're an alumni, if you're several years out, that is okay. You can complete the FAFSA, the application is open, and they will generate this report for you in about a week's time, typically. What I will say is do not wait until the week of the application deadline to work on the financial section, mainly that FAFSA application, because the federal Department of Education, they have to do that that whole determination there in regards to what they used to call the expected family contribution on the student aid report. We need that student aid report there. So don't wait last minute for that piece, because it does take about a week's time to generate, and the application deadline again is October 26th. That's a Thursday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you don't want to run afoul missing materials that would qualify you during the eligibility review phase. One of the important things to note as well is that acceptable majors for fellows interested in the Payne Fellowship are everything's from international affairs, development, economics, history, political science, public administration, public health, security, business administration, foreign languages, agriculture, environmental sciences, urban planning, social work, social justice. The list goes on there, but the important thing to note is that it must be at a full-time, a full-time traditional program at a US-based institution. And it must conclude within 2 years. So it's a 2-year full-time degree program at a US-based institution is the requirement for it to be applicable for our fellowship program. One good thing to note is that we do have a list of some 30+ graduate program partners who've agreed to offer additional or supplemental funding to help supplement the cost of graduate tuition or living expenses at their respective institutions. So for those of you who may be interested in learning who's on that list, the offers that they're extending to Payne Fellows, and some institutions extend to Payne Finalists as well. Please reach out to us via email, paynefellows@howard.edu for that piece. So some tips, right? One would think these are, the first things that come to mind when you're working on a nationally competitive fellowship opportunity, but we'd be surprised. So here are some tips that you should seriously consider when you're when you're preparing your application to be as competitive as possible. First, can't stress this enough, review your application in the requirements to ensure your eligibility to prepare to apply. Again, 3.2 GPA, cumulative GPA, US citizenship by the application deadline, looking to start graduate school in fall 2024 in an area of relevance to the USAID's Foreign Service. Okay. Then to explain in a statement of interest your motivations for applying. You should be very clear and concise in the explanation. You want to be clear why USAID. You want to be clear how or your interest what developmental focus or interest that you have, right? And how the graduate studies in the program will help you prepare for such employment. You want to be sure to clearly and concisely demonstrate your academic ability. There's a section in our application where you can enter all of your accolades. Use that section, enter all of your accolades. And even if there's always, we tend to always get the question about if you don't have a lot of international affairs or international relations type of experiences, that's okay. Whatever experiences that you do have, we want them to be fleshed out or related there. If there's a relevant course that can show the extensiveness in your studies there, list it. Talk about that piece. Obtaining strong letters of recommendation will be paramount. I want to make sure that you're going for individuals, be it faculty, staff, supervisors, managers, community individuals. You want to make sure that you are engaging and you're asking individuals who are, one, who know you, two, who can speak to your actual passions and your interests. And by passions and interests, I mean in development. You want to be clear in that interest in development in USAID and working for USAID, pursuing a career, with USAID. And also, again, how prepared they should be able to speak to your preparedness for, again, graduate school. Let's see here. Demonstrate the need for financial assistance. Again, let's harken back to the last slide. We give you a space, the 400 words or less there. In the financial section, again, you are required to upload your student aid report from the FAFSA. So again, don't wait on that. In the financial statement, what's important is conveying something that the numbers can't tell, if that makes sense. So if your student aid report, and I've seen various ends of the spectrum, right? Student aid report may report that your family might have a bit of wealth, but you as an individual are not wealthy, right? And your family won't be supporting you in graduate school, right? So use that section to convey what the numbers aren't telling, and that the selection panel won't tell right off bat from looking at that section for you. If you keep it vague, or if you keep it general, then you're pretty much leaving it up to the panel to use those numbers to determine your need there. So again, use all areas of the application to show your best self and to tell your story and to communicate your need. Can't stress this enough, include all relevant extracurricular, community or volunteer experiences, and be sure to highlight your leadership roles. Be them inside your college or university, or outside within the actual community. We want to know about it. List them. If you were chaplain, if you were, I don't know, secretary for an organization, or even if you were just team lead, that we would like to know about that. Again, the honors and awards from college. And lastly, proofread all aspects of your application carefully and be sure to submit your application on time. Again, the application deadline is October 26th, which is a Thursday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, so let's now get into the actual sections of the application. I told you guys I wasn't going to leave you high and dry, just wasn't going to end it with the money and, oh, this is the tips and that's it, right? So the personal statement, right? This is a statement of 600 words or less. Here you want to be clear and list your motivations. Why do you want to be a development foreign service officer with USAID? Your preparations. What have you done that would make you successful? What will you be bringing to the next cohort of Payne Fellows? Some examples of relevant experiences include your international studies, if you have any, the living, work, or travel. And international studies could also please note that can be, actually I was about to say in the next bullet point, international and multicultural experiences in the US, including your family relations there. So that's what I was going to say. Experiences with overcoming obstacles that show resilience and resourcefulness, working with various cultural or social economic groups, any public service experience, either work, internship, or community volunteer, other internship, community volunteer work experiences, be it in government, NGOs, service organizations, business enterprises, etc. And then, of course, your academic and learning experiences, including any research that you've done with faculty, independently, etc. And then any leadership experiences in, again, academic, work, or a volunteer type of setting. Those are the things that you want to be sure to include in this personal statement. Again, being intentional, right? Being clear, and being clear and intentional with those motivations in those preparations. For your financial statement, the financial statement section, again, allows in a statement of 400 words or less. It's very short. You don't have the full 600 words. It's usually 500 words is a page. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, everyone. I live in an urban city, and there are a lot of urban things that happen in an urban city, despite how thick the walls are. So with that, you only get 400 words there to communicate in the financial statement. So what's important, again, is conveying what the numbers cannot tell. Cannot stress this enough. Discuss your need for financial assistance to attend graduate school, including an explanation of the extent of financial need for your undergraduate education. So let's say if you exhausted, familiar funds in an undergrad, right? Your parents paid for your undergraduate program, et cetera, or assisted with that piece, right? So you don't really have the support for graduate school. Things to think about there. Or in the event that you received a scholarship, which covered undergraduate funds, and the way that you were to actually go and receive your bachelor's degree was only due to the receiving of a merit-based scholarship or some other type of scholarship, be them specific to the university or outside, right? Second piece, how you finance your undergraduate education, your abilities or plans to pay for graduate school independently. Applicants may also provide the context to the current financial situation by discussing your socioeconomic background. So let's say if you were deeply impacted by the biggest piece that we've been seeing recently, COVID-19, and what that looked like, the ramifications in regards to whole industries, wiped out, impacted. We're thinking retail, we're thinking hospitality, tourism, where your family probably was, be it senior, mid, or entry in those pieces, but you were dependent upon those industries, et cetera. But any impact there as it relates to your personal finances that are not evident in, again, the numbers, the student aid report that you'll be providing. And if possible, provide specific data wherever you can, i.e. the amounts. What's very important here, though, be clear and be concise. Don't draw it out to be a woe is me section of your application, but be clear and be concise and be intentional about your expressed need for support in graduate education. Yes, I think these are some other things to include here regarding the financial statements. You can discuss relevant issues that are not obvious from the numbers. Again, you want to speak to what the numbers are not telling. Other than loans, any things that you have to do other than loans to ease the cost of your undergraduate studies, the choice of your universities, working during school, other scholarships, be them internal or external, background, family context, your socioeconomic background, something to consider. And then communicate issues that explain why the reported income, again, stressing this again, on the student aid report is not representative of your current situation, okay? Reaching out to advisors. So your advisors, especially for those who are alum, if you're an alum of a university, and my ask would be, and I encourage you to reach back out to your undergraduate institution, and specifically if they have a fellowships office or a national advisor type of office where they work with students as they complete nationally competitive fellowship opportunities. Reach out to them. They're there. We do have online resources for them as well, in which you all can access via our website as well as applicants. They assist in sharing the information more broadly. They can assist you with scheduling pitch sessions with groups and support for first gen and underrepresented persons who are applying to these types of fellowship opportunities. They may even be able to identify Payne alumni from your institution. And they can also, again, connect you with other individuals there, be it Gilman, Bourne, Fulbright, and other internationally focused fellowships there. So they're a wealth of resources, and they can really assist you completing the application and working through the pieces there. Going back to our fellowship, the Payne Graduate Fellowship Program, in our selection process, with the selection, it's multifaceted. At the beginning, at the application deadline, once the deadline concludes, we begin the eligibility review phase. This is where we are reviewing again strictly for eligibility, the U.S. citizenship, the cumulative 3.2 GPA, and ensuring that you're actually looking to enroll in a graduate program in fall 2024. The application review panel, or a selection panel actually, they will be reviewing the all-encompassing, the meatier, your essays, your numbers in regards to your what you uploaded in the financial section, going through your awards and accolades, actually reading your letters of recommendation. And they review all of that piece. And they just working through the process and the onboarding timeline here. They will select the 60 finalists for the Payne Fellowship in December, early December 2023. From which there, we will invite, our staff will reach out to those 60 finalists and invite them to the final round interviews, which will take place in January 2024. Now, the final round interviews encompasses two parts. It is a writing component in your actual final round interview, which also includes a group exercise. All finalists will receive information leading up to their notifications. And once they're notified, everything that they need to know in regards to next steps, setting up their technological making sure that I don't know why I'm stuttering over this, making sure that their equipment is technologically set up to handle the final round interviews, and also to participate in the final writing exercise piece as well. From there, we also, once the interviews conclude, which is mid to late January, we will be sending out all of the decision notifications, which typically happens within 24 to 48 hours after the last final round. It all depends, again, patience with us all, for those of you who will be in that process there, because it is the selection panel does need a time to deliberate. Because they will have to speak and converse and make their selection of the 30 final fellows there. So there has to be a consensus. Just like if you were at trial in a court of law and there was a jury, there must be a consensus on the selection of all of those who will be awarded the fellowship for the cycle. And then we begin the onboarding process, which myself and our Payne staff will facilitate. This will be virtual just as well. Oh, also, fun note, the final round is also virtual. We are doing a virtual final round selections process this year. We did this for 2021, 2022, and 2023. So we will be continuing this because it's worked so well. So it'll really just be once you're notified that you are notified as selected as a finalist, being sure to indicate your time zone and your preferred preferences for interview, and again, which our staff will facilitate in that communication with those in December. Fellow onboarding happens January, the end of January through May. Actually, there will be a lot that we'll have to set up the fellows with all of our new fellows, our 2024 fellows, that'll be including security clearances with USAID. That is a process that starts as soon as you sign your contracts and you get those contracts returned to us. We start the security clearance process because everyone's different, everyone's situation is different. it can take a little bit of time, up to the full 2 years in some cases, as you're matriculating, depending upon your situation. All of our fellows come to Washington, D.C. We fly you into D.C. again for orientation in the start of your first internship, which is prior to the first year of graduate school, your congressional internship. So they do an orientation at Howard University for 1 week and then begin their congressional internship the very next week. On the Hill for 9 weeks. So all in, it's a 10-week experience, 1 week orientation, 9-week internship. We provide a stipend, round trip transportation, and housing for that piece. And then after that, our fellows disperse back all over the country, wherever you came from or wherever you will be going for graduate school. And then you'll begin your first year of graduate school. I actually have a wonderful timeline here that I should have just pulled up. So again, May 2024 to August 2024. The 2024 Payne Fellows will again attend that 1 week orientation, then a 9-week congressional internship assignment for a 10-week summer experience in summer 2024. September 2024 to May 2025, fellows will complete their first year of graduate studies at a US-based institution. Then June 2025 to August 2025, so again, that summer in between the first and second year of graduate school, we will send our fellows overseas for the 10-week overseas internship at a USAID mission. Again, each internship experience is different, with fellows working on a variety of issues and projects in different sections of the mission. So not all of our fellows will be stationed at the same or will be posted at the same mission, but in some cases they may be, but 9 times out of 10, even if you are there, you'll be working on probably a completely different portfolio of work depending upon your area backstop. And then September 25 to May 2026, our fellows return to graduate school for that second and last year of graduate school. From there, they graduate and then they go into their induction for USAID's Foreign Service. Again, remember at the beginning of the presentation, I said, if you get the fellowship, you get the job, which is great, right? It's always nice to know that you have employment after graduate school. But with that employment, there is a 5-year service obligation, meaning that you must stay employed with USAID as a foreign service officer within their foreign service for a minimum of 5 years after you complete your the fellowship component of the program, the 2-year professional development, the internships, and your 2-year graduate degree program there. So, who exactly are we looking for? Well, hopefully to be all of you here on the call who have this interest. This program is open to seniors who will graduate by spring 2024 and individuals who already possess a college degree in any major or area of interest who want to promote a positive change in the world. It encourages the application of members of minority groups historically underrepresented in the USAID's Foreign Service, so women, those with financial need, and it also values individuals with a commitment to public service, domestic or international, individuals from diverse areas within the United States. Diversity does not only mean ethnical or racial, ethnical diversity for us, but also geographical diversity and social economical diversity as well. Individuals interested in the backstops and career paths with USAID, you should and you must be interested in the career paths of USAID. If you can't see yourself as a development foreign service officer, we invite you to look at some other programs, and there are many out there. But you should be intentional about applying to this program and having that interest in development and an interest in pursuing a career with USAID's Foreign Service. Individuals who have demonstrated resourcefulness and resiliency. Again, I can't stop bringing it up enough. I mean, COVID-19 when the world actually shut down. That was it like technically some countries started December 2019 in US, us for I think it was like really February, March's time when the world stopped for us, right? Your resiliency through that period, how you were resourceful, how you engaged, how you stayed engaged, um, uh, things to think about, right? Individuals interested in foreign languages and cultures. You should be one who, if you don't have a lot of cultural experiences, but one who is interested in hungry to pursue those type of and have those type of opportunities and those type of experiences there. Individuals with strong leadership skills. Can you take charge? Not saying that you always have to be the first in the room, but you should be able to demonstrate or to show us those leadership skills and abilities, be it through your work in organizations, community service, academia, etc. First generation college students. We're looking for you. We are looking for you. That does not mean that we're not looking for individuals who are second or third generation as well. Again, apply. If you're, especially if you have any substantive interest in any one of the other bullet points that I just went through. And lastly, of course, individuals who want to represent the United States as development diplomats in the USAID Foreign Service. Okay, if any one of these bullet points apply to you, if you're saying, okay, yeah, no, that's it. I want to, be more culturally adaptable, or I know like 4 or 5, languages, or, I really want to be an agricultural officer, or, what, development is just interesting for me at this stage. And you know what, USAID doesn't sound too bad. I'm here for it. Apply. We're looking for you. With that, let's go through some of the most common questions. So, grad school choices. This is just some of the things that we typically tend to get. So I figured I'd hammer them out now before we go to the Q&A. Do you have to apply or be admitted beforehand? No, you do not have to apply to graduate school before applying to our program or be admitted prior to applying to the Payne Fellowship program. However, it is important to note that you do apply separately to graduate school from our program, meaning that if there, and we do ask in the application, there's a section for you to list some of the schools or institutions that you're looking at, that you've applied to, or even if you've already been admitted to a couple of them. But that section there for you to list those institutions. The graduate institutions still have their own deadlines and things. So that's one thing that is important to note, that because you apply separately to graduate school from our fellowship program, you want to make sure that you're staying on top of not only our deadline, again, October 26th, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is a Thursday, but you should be monitoring and paying close attention to the graduate programs that you're considering as well. Again, fellows will be awarded in late January 2024. So this coming January, our fellows will be notified. And typically, a lot of the graduate programs have traditional deadlines, meaning those who haven't applied early or on their rolling admissions basis is usually around that March, late February, March period. Sorry about that. Actually, just pause the slide there. Can you do anything other than 2 years master's program starting the subsequent year? So a joint program, a 5-year BA, MA, PhD? No, you cannot. If you are a current, so for those of you who are bachelor students who are actually already in a 5-year type of program, you would need to complete all of your existing programmatic requirements and then apply for the next cohort. And your master's degree must be in a different area of relevance. It cannot be in the same, you can't essentially pursue like the same type of degree or in the same type of area. So it should be in a completely different area of relevance for the USAID's Foreign Service. Can I study overseas? Well, that's a good question, and it actually depends. And the reason why it depends is our major requirement is that 2-year full-time US-based institution in an area of relevance to a degree area of relevance to USAID's Foreign Service. If the US based institution has an international campus, and for instance, this is a perfect example, and I use it all the time because we get a lot of fellows who go there. Johns Hopkins Beijing campus, right? It's Johns Hopkins University. The campus is in Beijing, China, and the degree will be coming not from a Chinese university, which means that we're not paying the Chinese government or the Chinese institution, but the degree is coming from Johns Hopkins. And Johns Hopkins is US-based, still US-based institution, but the location is their satellite location overseas, i.e., so long as we can still send tuition to the US-based institution, and your degree will be coming back from the US-based institution, that'll be where that piece really depends there. If there's programs that you're considering or that you're looking at, reach out to our staff. Again, the email address is paynefellows@howard.edu, and I have a slide with that, so you don't have to worry about it copying it down. But yes, dual nationals eligible? Yes, absolutely. You must apply using your US citizenship, however, and you must use your US citizenship throughout the entire duration of the program, and of course, including when you transition and start, your career with USAID's Foreign Service. Deferral. Do we offer deferrals? Only at this time, it's only for Fulbright. So if you've been awarded the Fulbright ETA, English Teaching Assistantship, which is 1 year, can only be 1 year deferral. We defer for that. Military work, 1 year to 1 year, and personal or family hardship, extenuating circumstances, so medical, deaths, etc. Diversity requirement. Only financial need gets a separate score. We do rank the selection panel does, again, that's why we require the student aid report, the official student aid report. And lastly, is the Foreign Service exactly right for you? Well, that will depend, and I actually invite you all to join us later this month. I do not have the date in hand. I will drop it in shortly, for our service, for our webinar on the careers in the USAID Foreign Service, which will be hosted by our senior advisor, Gary Juice. So I have a little quote here from one of our fellows. Just let it play through. I'm not going to read it. I've been reading a lot of text on screen. I think you guys can capture it here. Actually, I might as well. Why not? So it says here, I try, and this is a Foreign Service officer, Tashina Ader Cooper. I try to honestly represent America's history. We have inequality. Our history is replete with discrimination. Yet what sets our nation apart is our democratic ideals and the notion that civil rights and liberties should be available to all. Foreign audiences appreciate Americans who are willing to acknowledge when we fall short of our principles. Our greatest strength is that we are constantly aspiring to do better. And if you feel that way, apply to the Payne Fellowship. With that, I will now open it for Q&A. I do have a couple of questions in the chat that I'd like to get through first really quick. The first one here is from Gary. Thank you for this. Do we want to make a claim that we couldn't pay for school otherwise, or that we would be able to? So I believe you're talking about in regards to the financial need section in the statement there.
Yes, that's right.
Yes. So I will leave that to you. So it's not that you want to make a claim that you can't pay for school, but you would need assistance in paying for school because of X, Y, and Z reasons. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Does this cover PhD too? No. It does not. Unfortunately, the Payne Fellowship program does not cover PhD programs, master's degree programs, or medical degree programs. Again, you must be looking to be eligible for this program, 3.2 GPA, US citizenship by the application deadline, and you must be looking to start a full-time 2-year master's degree program at a US-based institution. Okay, I'm going to go to some of the hands that are raised here. I think I have Truth is the one that's coming up first for me.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi.
How do you say your name? I don't want to mess
Yes,
it up.
so Niger, but please call
Nice
me,
year.
Nye. I tell everyone to call me Nye. It's perfectly fine.
Okay. Well, now first, that was a wonderful presentation. I thank you for speaking about the Payne program. I was curious. I was looking at the different Payne or the different USAID backstops, and I was wondering if you knew anything about the human resources backstop. Because I was listening for it, and you didn't mention it when you were speaking. But
Yes.
yeah,
So you're talking HR or like an HR backstop.
yeah. It says
Hold on.
backstop 60 human resources, education, and participant training.
Yes, so backstop BS60 usually falls in line with our education officers, and
Mhm.
yes, so it is one of the backstops that they have. So you're so long as your so long as the graduate program that you're looking at is applicable or aligns with said backstop. So let me pause for a second because I actually didn't talk about the graduate program approval process. So with our fellowship program, again, we won't just set you up and let's say you've been admitted to a program and next thing you know we're saying, oh, we don't cover that program because it doesn't align with backstop or the needs of this backstop. We actually have USAID backstop coordinators who confirm the graduate programs for our fellows. So any programs that you've been admitted to, that you're in any backstops that you're considering, you'll let us know. We'll send you. This is part of the onboarding process. We'll send you a piece. You'll let us know the backstops of interest in the programs that you've applied to, and then we'll get them over to the backstop coordinators. The backstop coordinators will review and confirm if said program has the competencies needed for BS 60 or BS 11 or BS10 or whichever backstop that you're looking for, including like human resources, right? If said program meets those standards, those competencies there, they'll confirm that piece, and then your graduate program is confirmed. You can go ahead and accept your acceptance into said program, and you'll be good there. We are doing. I won't cover every backstop. I usually just, I'm just listing them off the top of my head, Truth. So I apologize for missing that one for you. But yes, we do have that. We are hosting a backstop week in October, when we invite various individuals, be them coordinators or current foreign service officers who are serving in those respective backstops. They're usually fellows who are in the respective BS 60 or BS 50 population health, or we actually have different backstop days. So there'd be like one day for XO officer or one presentation for XO officers, another for public health, another for education officers, et cetera. So look out for our backstop week. If you go on our website, we should have the dates, I believe, for the backstop week in October. I believe it's like the week of I think it's the week of the 13th, when those pieces are. I do not know which day education and HR officers are going to be, or XO officers are going to be doing their presentations. But if you circle back on our website, I'm sure it'll be up there, and that way you can join the relevant presentation for the backstop that you're interested in.
Yep, that sounds good, Nye. And I was curious because I'm a psychology major. I have interest in psychology, so the human resources backstop fits pretty well, especially if I wanted to do a program in psychology. It kind of all just strings together. So, but thank you for the clarification within that.
Yeah, no problem, Truth. Okay, I see Fatu. How are you?
Hello. Hi, Night. Thank you so much for your
Long time no see.
presentation.
Yes.
Long time no see. Hi, I had two quick questions. My first question is for a semifinalist. How are the written portions and the interviews scored against each other? Is it holistic? Is it is it one over the other? I'm curious about that process. And my second question is, as someone who's interested in the health backstop, I see that for university affiliates, you only have one university catering towards a public health degree. And I'm curious what that process is like to gain new university affiliates, and if you guys are in the works to seek out other university affiliates. But yeah, that's me. Thank you.
Yes, Fatu. Well, phenomenal question. Actually, I'm going to start with the latter one there. So yes, we are constantly working on expanding our list of graduate program partners. If there's an institution that you're interested in or that you're looking at for said backstop degree, right, for public health, send it to us. Honestly, this is, we won't know where our fellows or our candidates or our applicants are even considering, what schools you guys are interested in, to poach, to reach out to ask them to come on board as partners and offer additional funds just for you guys, without you guys sharing that information. So yeah, absolutely. We're constantly working on expanding the list. We actually just secured a new partnership and working on getting that offer onto our website and the offer list with the LBJ school at University. Oh my gosh, LBJ school, University of Texas Austin, Longhorns. Yes. Yes, yeah, that is something that we are constantly working on. And the other piece was regarding the selection process in regards to the writing scores, if I'm not mistaken, right, Fatu?
Yes, that is that. Okay. Between the written portion and
the final round, in yes. Like in the interview, right? And how are they? Yeah. Yes. Okay, cool, perfect. Great question. So we have two panels. And by two panels, I'm sorry. I'm trying to organize it right so I don't confuse anyone. And this is being recorded, so I want to be very sure, clear, concise in promoting accurate information. So there are two separate panels. There's a writing panel, and then there's a interview. A separate panel that'll be doing your final round interviews. The writing panel, these are professionals, some in USAID, Foreign Service, or at USAID, and others who are authors, admissions, graduate school admissions persons, etc., who serve on the writing panel, etc., and they review the writing, and it's strictly for just writing. In the past, so prior to 2023, the 2023 cohort, the process was the selection process. Finalists who were selected at the application stage were then sent for the next round, which was the writing component, the writing round. And then all of those, after those scorings, those finalists, the final finalists were sent up to the final interview panel there. And then after that, the interview panel would select the award of fellows, right? Last year, 2023, and to your point, Fatu's phenomenal question, you're spot on there. Last year, we decided to switch the selection process and to not make the writing section a barrier of sorts, or not to say that it was a barrier, but as an additional round. It is still scored separately, so we still will have a whole separate panel from the interview panel who will review the essays and affix respective scores based off of grammar, based off of, there's a whole rubric, and we do share, please note, everyone, you will get the rubric. So you will get everything you would need to prepare for the writing exercise, which is a proctored exam. We have a software with that. It's timed as well, so you get 1 hour, it's proctored, and you will have the whole rubric so you can feel comfortable writing and making sure that whatever essay that whatever prompt that you're following, the essay can be complete and can be graded appropriately so you can get the highest score that you could possibly earn, right? But anyway, so the writing panel score, they still do their separate scores, and then the final round interview will take place, and they will affix the scores for your group exercise. That panel will do the group exercise, and your final round, like, you know, your face-to-face Zoom interview, well, your Zoom virtual interview, face-to-face there. They'll fix scores for those sections, and then we'll drop in then they'll get access to the writing scores there, and then from there we are weighted. The scores will go in order based off of the maximum amount. I cannot tell you that off the top of my head, unfortunately, Fatu. And the final round interview panel will make the decision from you know, the highest ranking score that the effect will essentially show. So what that means, yes, it's a holistic. Yes, it is holistic. Oh my gosh, I don't know why I was talking in circles. It is a holistic approach. Once you take your writing, once you do your writing, a separate panel will fix scores, and then the final round interview panel will fix their scores for the final round group exercise and review all the scores together. Again, they will depending upon, you know, it be in order from the highest scores to the lowest scores, et cetera, there. And that is how the final round selection panel will choose the 30 fellows from there. Does that answer your question, Fatu?
Yes, it does. It was very clear. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Muhammad, you've come up on my screen now.
Hi, Nye. Thanks again for the presentation.
Yes.
I just had a question about eligibility. So I'm on the quarter system, so I'm planning to graduate in around like June 2024. I was wondering if I'm still able to participate in this, if I got accepted.
That's a very good question. So for orientation, I'm sorry, what school are you at, Mohammed, if you don't mind me asking?
Sorry?
What school are you at?
I'm at UC Davis.
Oh, okay. Yes, Davis.
Yeah.
Yes, are on the course. Yeah. Yes. So all of our fellows are absolutely required to participate in the mandatory fellowship orientation in May. You would need to have your degree conferred before orientation in order to be applicable. Because literally that first week of June is when your internship, your congressional internship will begin. Do me a favor, Mohammed, circle around with me, shoot me an email, you know, just to follow up, so we can have like an offline conversation, okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Gary, I see your hand up.
Yes, thank you. So I was actually just wondering, I'm currently in graduate school and I actually plan on getting a second degree. So this question was whether or not that'll affect my eligibility, either positively or negatively, just because I know that the Payne Fellowship for the most part is kind of catered towards people who are getting their first degree.
Yes, that's a great question, Gary, and thank you so much for bringing that up and representing for all of those with advanced degrees already. What I will say is no, we don't discourage those with advanced degrees from applying. What's important is you communicating why the second degree, and specifically it being in a different area of relevance for, again, it's completely separate from the first, right? What else can I say? Now, how the selection panel, again, you know, our selection panel changes every year, by the way. There isn't a thing where we're saying, okay, give preference to said applicant over said applicant. Does that make sense? Because they have this degree X, Y, and Z. What I will say is that, again, we are need-based, right? This is a need-based type of fellowship opportunity. So for you, and especially because in possessing an advanced degree, that financial statement will be the area to really communicate the need and the interest and the why for the second degree. So being clear and concise there, because ultimately that determination would be up to the selection panel. And also it will also depend upon the mix of candidates, right, that the selection panel is reviewing? Are there others with advanced degree that they're reviewing as well? Or are there more with, who are pursuing their first advanced degree, et cetera? Very good question, Gary. But I will say, don't let your degree, this is your triumphant, right? This is phenomenal. What? Don't let that discourage you from applying to the fellowship, is what I will say.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
You're very welcome. All right, I think I had a few more questions in the chat. I want to just pop back over there really quick, everyone. Give me a second here. All right. So our Muhammad, thank you. Okay, yes, we answered that about June. Erica, do admitted candidates get a say in what area they work in after their graduate program's completion? So you mean once you finish with the fellowship requirements, you've graduated, you got your advanced degree, and you're entering in USAID's Foreign Service, if I'm not mistaken, correct, Erica?
Yeah, sorry, I jumped in late, so you may have already addressed this.
No, I didn't. So not at all. It's a perfect question. Perfect timing. So you will get a preference. There is a preference there, I guess, like, I don't want to say a preference form, but there's a mechanism for aid for USAID, short-term aid, for aid to collect those who are onboarding into the Foreign Service, their preferences. But ultimately, your first mission post will depend upon the need of the agency. I will say that. Now, after that, it can be as you're matriculating, like after your first post, right? Is when those preferences might be a little bit more geared towards career employees versus those who are just coming in the entry level there. But for your first mission post, it's typically based off of the need of USAID and its program and backstops. Hopefully that answers your question there.
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. I do not want to pronounce the name wrong here. I think it's I don't want to pronounce this wrong. Okay, so the question is, what are the missions for the second internship? I'm a professional with a family. Would I be able to bring my family with me? Oh my gosh, phenomenal question. Thank you so much for that. So your second internship, which is the internship between your first and second year of graduate school, we collect your resume. We're actually working with our 2023 fellows right now on this piece, but we collect your resumes and cover letters, and we send them to USAID. USAID does the placements for the overseas missions. And the reason why is because the missions may change. Some missions may not be active, or certain backstops may have more work in other missions, et cetera. So let's say, even if you have an interest in, or let's say you want to go to China, right? You want to be placed at the mission in China, but there's no one in your backstop, or they don't have any substantive work for your backstop. Like if it's, I don't know, like let me see, public health, right? I'm sure they would have work for you. They have work for public health officers everywhere. But if they didn't have any substantive work for you in China, they're not going to, send you to China just because that's where you want to go to the Chinese mission for aid, right? No. So USAID does do the placements for the overseas internship, and they do take in they do take into consideration your preferences for said experiences, but ultimately it'll be it's a multitude of factors that determine if your preference for a mission placement for overseas can happen. One, the locale of the mission, right? Is it safe? And those things tend to change, on a daily basis globally, the way our world is set up right now. Two, because again, as I mentioned earlier, the program, Payne Fellowship program, us administered by Howard here. Howard team will pay for your round trip transportation there. However, the mission is responsible for your lodging and your accommodations there. So the mission has to also be able to be in a position to accommodate housing wise, et cetera, equipment wise, et cetera, work wise, meaning having, again, substantive projects for you to work on there. So it really depends, but we do take a like if you have any preferences, or if there's an area of interest that you have and you want to see if there's any placements there for that piece, yes, we can take that. Regarding the second part to that question, your family, we unfortunately for the overseas internship, you cannot bring your families with you overseas. Again, it's specific because one, all of our fellows will have to, and you will have temporary clearance, security clearance for that piece, because you will be on a government agency's property doing confidential, in some cases, work. And two, again, going back to the lodging accommodations, Mission is paying for the lodging accommodations, and they're only paying for Payne fellows. So they can only accommodate you as the individual and the fellow. Also, our program provides emergency medical insurance, and we can only provide emergency medical insurance while you're overseas. It's for the duration of your overseas travel internship experience. That is only for you as the fellow there. Hopefully that answers your question there. We do have, what I will say though, is that we have a number of Payne fellows who have families, who are recently married or have already had kids, one who recently had a baby. And we've worked with them to adjust the timelines of certain things if they needed to make accommodations for their familiar situations stateside prior to going overseas. Let's see here. Jasmine, I'll take your hand, your question here.
Hi. So I do actually have two questions. One
Yes.
of them was already in the group chat. I don't know if that was seen, but then I also have another question. So I'll start with my one that's not in the chat. So one of the questions I have is, you said, if you already have a degree, then you'd have to, prove like why you'd want another degree, and then it would have to be something different than what you've already graduated with. And so because I have a master's degree in public health, but I'm interested in doing something more along the line of like potentially development or humanitarian affairs. And so one, I was curious if like a humanitarian degree would count for this, because there is a humanitarian assistance backstop. And then my second question is, do you guys consider those things to be too close together to be considered?
It's a good question. So all right, let's start with the humanitarian degree. And I actually was just getting to your question in the chat when I noticed that you had your hand raised. So I was like, okay, let me just call it. Yes, there is a humanitarian assistance backstop, the humanitarian management types of programs. It would depend on the school and the curriculum. Our staff does not determine if our program is going to pay for it. So what I will say to you, Jasmine, is if if I'm looking at this program, shoot us an email with the link to the school, et cetera, and we will be able to, and this goes for any of you who are looking at some programs that you're not sure if it would be covered under Payne. Send us the information so we can to check it's very quick process. We can check to see if it'd be applicable there, so you're not wasting your time applying or applying to the wrong program, right? I'm sorry, Jasmine. What was the other part to your question?
The other part to my question is, I was curious if somebody already has a degree in, say, public health, and then is interested in development or humanitarian, like, do you consider those to be too close together? Or,
No.
because when you said it had to be two different fields, I was curious, like, okay, I have a public health degree, but now I'm interested in switching to like HR or, you know,
Right,
so I was
right.
curious if it
Gotcha,
has to
gotcha,
be something
gotcha,
like
gotcha.
that.
Gotcha. Yes. So no, yeah, your public health degree, what I meant by it needs to be in a separate area of relevance, like you can't be pursuing, like if you're pursuing public policy, where you can't get an MPA, public administration. That's what I meant by that. Now, if you're going in as you already have your MPH, but you're looking at becoming a humanitarian assistant officer in the Payne Fellowship program, so you're looking at humanitarian type of focused degrees, that's fine. Mm.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're very welcome. HIP. Okay, thank you, HIP. No problem. Okay, do we have any other questions? Okay. Ashley, thank you so much for your question. I'll follow up with you directly if you want to hang back after the presentation. And this is Ashley Ike. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, let's see in the chat here. Okay. Kristen, okay, thank you. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. There's Jordan. Yes. Hi, Jordan. Please go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hello.
For the financial statement, how much information is too?
I'm sorry, you cut off there. I think you said how much information is too much information.
Yes.
Yes. So that's a good question. So honestly, so the section is very straightforward. There's I'm trying to see how could it be too much? You only have 400 words. There's literally like a counter on it, so it will literally cut you off. So if your thought isn't complete there, then that'll let you know that, okay, maybe the information that I thought, I'm rambling now or whatever. I might have to clean it up, make it more concise, right? As far as the individual sections of the financial piece, that comes directly from the student aid report. So we will literally, like, we're asking you your net worth, your bank account, like literally everything that is in there, you have to transfer that over to that piece. The only way I can see it being too much information is if you're, again, this would be the avoiding the woe is me, right? Oh, I done got evicted and such, and I done such and such, like one plight after the other, right? That'd be a little bit too much information. And it wouldn't be clear and concise enough outside of the selection panel just hearing one plight after the other. But it doesn't really communicate the express need for graduate school. So erring on the side of caution when it comes to, like, again, if there is a socioeconomic situations that have, led you that needs that led you, for this piece, or if your socioeconomic current status is of that, and you are mentioning it, you want to touch on it, I would touch on it, but being sure that how you frame it, again, you only have 400 words, being clear and concise. And if the numbers can convey your socioeconomic status, i.e. your EFC is 0 on your student aid report, you don't have anything, no stocks, no bonds, you're not like, I don't know, like Warren Buffett or something like that. I want to harp on that socioeconomic piece, and I would focus on another component, if you will. Hopefully that answers your question, Jordan. Jasmine, I see you have your hand raised again.
Yes, I think that you have already touched on this, but I just want to clarify. So, for those who have already graduated with a master's degree, you would still have to turn in a FAFSA for this year?
Yeah, the FAFSA is
That's
absolutely, it's required for the fellowship
Okay.
program. So yes, everyone should be completing that. It must complete that and upload the information from the student aid report. Mainly because you'll have to complete it anyway for your graduate program, for which you'll intend on starting in 2024.
Right. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Let me see, I'm checking, just give me 1 second. Fatu, do you provide disability support and services for applicants? Yeah, so we encourage members of from those communities who, you know, if you have a disability X, Y, and Z, to apply. And yes, we can support you. It would be on of course, a case by case, dependent upon your need. And we would follow up with you with, you know, of course, the appropriate doctor materials and things like that if we need that. And especially if it's pertaining to like the selection process. So let's say if you have a condition where focusing or time settings, you know, like that piece doesn't bode well for you, and you need additional time for like the writing. What's going on with me? The writing section, the proctored writing portion of the final round. Yes, yeah, we can work with you, but we will request that you provide us with documentation, for which we would absolutely need to get it approved by USAID, and they will determine yeah or nay in regards to said accommodation. So if it's additional time, which has happened in the past, that's why I'm bringing that one up. For as long as we have the documentation, et cetera, it's not been an issue. Oh, here. I have any other are recommenders required to use the ranking template shared on the website in addition to their actual Delania? Yes, very good question. So the link, that ranking piece on the website is for recommenders. Yes, essentially that is what they're filling out in the system. So when you go into the application system and you enter your recommenders, their name, their email address, their title, phone number, whatever, the system will automatically send out an invite for them to complete their recommendation in the application system, like attached to your application, like one and two. When that happens, they'll just log into the system, complete the rankings on there, and then upload their letter of recommendation that they have. If they are having issues completing or if they if their system, which tends to happen, the firewalls on a lot of the other educational institutions, educational organizations tend to be really high. So they'll spam it or junk the automated push, you know, from the application portal. If your recommender indicated to you that they've not received the invite to recommend for you for the fellowship, and they've checked their junk and spam folders, and you've resent it, you know, twice or three times, you know, and again, they've checked their junk and spam folders, that is essentially when the written recommendation, the ranking form on the website, they can go in there, download that form, complete that ranking. They should not be sending that nor their letter of recommendation to you, the applicant. Those items must be sent directly to us. If they're so they can again download the ranking form themselves from the website there, complete it, and then just email it to paynefellows@howard.edu. Being sure again it include like applicant's name so we can know who to upload it and attach it to, or they can reach out directly to us via paynefellows@howard.edu, indicate their issue that they're experiencing, and then we'll send them that form that we have on our website and ask them to complete it in return. Respond with the completed form, ranking form, and then their letter of recommendation for us to attach and upload. Jordan, glad to have you back. No worries. You're very welcome. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? I see, hold on, I think there's one coming here. Jasmine.
Okay, last question. So I know with federal programs, typically within the civil service, they have GS scales. And then I know with foreign service, they have, I don't know if it's called like an FS scale, but they have like also a scale where you move up. So for Payne Fellows, do they all start on the same scale, or is it based on the experiences that you have?
Everyone's is based off of their experiences, and by their experiences, individuals who already have advanced degrees, right? Who are having a second advanced degree, and who might have already had, like, let's say 5 to 6 or 5 or more, or 2 or more years of professional work experience. Their salary determination, or the step in which they begin, will, be determined by USAID directly and their HR team. But if we're saying, like, you're all first time, Jasmine, knowing that you're not, like, if everyone is a first time in college and they're like a recent grad, right, and this is their first graduate advanced degree, and they have no work experience, etc., outside of the internships, and this is a good thing here. So your internships, both the congressional and your overseas internship, count towards your your professional work experience. That's what I was going to say. So that's a good thing. Unless, and this is the caveat, unless you're in a graduate program and let's say, because there are some graduate programs where they require you to do an internship or externship or something like that, and you're trying to use your fellowship internship as a completion for said graduate program requirements, we will allow you to do that. However, there's a form that you will need to fill out, and there's also an understanding, set understanding, that once you onboard into foreign service, we will not be able to use whichever experience it is. So, like, let's say the most applicable one would be the overseas one, right? Because that's in between your first and second year of graduate school. We will not be able to use that experience in counting towards those pieces there. Hopefully that answers your question, Jessica.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. I have a question from Jordan here in the chat. Are there additional advisement opportunities with Payne staff, previous fellows? Yes, for sure, always. Yeah, so actually on our website, there should be, I believe, the end of September. Actually, no, I'm lying. At the end of September is usually when we start to open up our one-on-ones, our staff one-on-ones. Reason being is because all of our staff, for the most part, we're traveling, where we will be around the country. I was just in Texas last week. Some of us will be in Atlanta soon, visiting some of the schools out there. We're doing Florida, New Mexico, coming to a state near you. So depending upon where you are, if you're curious to see if we're coming to your neck of the woods, shoot us an email, paynefellows@howard.edu, and we can let you know where we are. If that presentation is an open presentation for anyone, like said webinar, or if it's closed or maybe specific to the university community or the organization that we're working with. So yes. But yes, there are. And again, I encourage you all to attend the future, again, not the overview one, because we have a couple more general program overview sessions, but the upcoming session about, like, the USAID foreign service and the career in the foreign service with our senior advisor, attending the backstop week, signing up for a one-on-one with our program managers. Those will be the next step things. So definitely just visit our website, shoot us an email if you don't find what you're looking for on the website. Again, paynefellows@howard.edu, and I'll actually drop mine in this group chat here as well. Please note, my last name has changed. I am now a Jules. But Niger.Latimer@howard.edu. That's NIJHIER.LAT as in Tom, T as in Tom, I India, M as in Mary, E Echo, R Robert @howard.edu. That's my my work email address. So if you want to email me directly, please feel free, and I can let you know where our staff essentially will be, or any other questions, or if you want to set up a one-on-one in October directly with me as well. Okay. For those of you who messaged me directly, Kristen and Ashley, I would ask, please send me your questions via email, and I'll follow up with you both individually there. And if you'd like, we can set up a separate call to discuss.
Where can we find the recorded webinars again? Like for or no, I'm sorry, not the recorded ones, but the future ones that you'd mentioned just now?
Yes, on the Payne website. And if not, actually, you know what, I'll do you guys one better. Hold on, give me 1 second here. I'm going to drop in, and it should have been, hold on, let me see. I'm gonna send you, I'm gonna drop it in right here. Give me a second. I have like so many screens open, but there's a flyer that we have with all of the like upcoming things that I just want to drop that in. I feel like it'd be much more productive. Where are we? Here it is. Okay, all Payne Fellowship. Yes. Oh, well, this is the most recent upcoming one. So it's not, it does this, what I will note is it does not include the backstop week. So circle back around for backstop week. We are still in the process of confirming that piece, but it will be again, like around the week of October 13th. Give me 1 second. I'm going to drop this in for everyone. It's going to be a flyer, everyone, by the way. So just check the chat. Give me 1 second here to drop this in. And the recording for tonight's session, give us about 24, 48 hours. I have to get it over to our comms coordinator, who will then make sure it looks good, and then upload it to the Payne Fellowship YouTube channel. So if you haven't follow us, Payne Fellows, you can, on YouTube. it's only us. It's only one fellowship. Yes, give me 1 second here. I'm uploading this now. Okay. All right. If one person can just give me a shout once this drops in there, just to let me know that you see it. Okay. Anyone, give me a holla. It says I got a green check mark on my end. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thanks for the thumbs up there. Awesome. Well, you guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you all for taking the time to joining and learning about our wonderful fellowship opportunity. Again, reminder, the application does close October 26th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is a Thursday. So put it in your calendars, etc. If you have any questions, be sure to email, again, Payne Fellows. I'm going to just drop it in. Where am I texting? PayneFellows@howard.edu, or again, like, yeah, I'm deputy director, but please, I'm very approachable. So what to think I am. Email me directly, and I'll be sure to follow up within 24 to 48. 48 hours is what I generally say. I'm usually a faster responder. But thank you all so much. I'm going to stop the recording now. Stop the share.